What's up, everybody? Welcome in to another edition of Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. I'm Kyle Glaser alongside the incomparable Mike Cameron, here to break down the top five pitching targets for the Padres in free agency. But, Mike, before we dive into that, two big developments occurred over the last week while you were out. First and foremost, the Padres officially introduced Craig Stammen as their new manager. And then Chairman John Seidler announced that the Seidler family will be exploring a potential sale of the team. These two developments obviously create a pretty big ripple effect just in terms of how the organization is going to function and, most notably, how they're going to pursue their free agents. And we'll get into how it's going to affect specifically their free agent strategy for pitchers here in a second. But before we dive into that, just want to get your quick thoughts on Stammen coming as a manager, good hire, bad hire, questions, and then, of course, the news the Padres are potentially going to be sold, depending on what the side their family decides to do.
Yes, Kyle. First of all, thank you for having me once again. Uh, um, my personal feelings were I didn't think that they would go as in the direction that they're going with Stammen, simply because of the roster and the layout of the team. But obviously, we knew Stammen was um, very much in the front office. So that kind of helped his hand a little bit. Also, understanding the questions. I mean, you understand the questions if you're in the meetings, you understand what's going on. But also, Stammen is a guy who played for the Padres. He's pitched there. He's been in that clubhouse. Um, and I think he's been out of the game a few years now. So
Yep.
he get a chance to see it from the other side. And now he gets a chance to jump the captain's seat and try to bring his own potential um, meaning of what he wants this team to look like and not just on in words. So, kudos to him for getting this opportunity and trying to work this out. I'm pretty sure AJ Preller has drilled this guy inside and out and tried to get some type of a feeling for what it's like. And then I'm hoping that they AJ and the front office staff talk to Manny and talk to Tatis and some of the other veterans over there, Musgrove and some other veterans in that team to get a sense of temperature gauging or feel as to how they want to do this. Because with anyone that you bring in, when you have these veteran guys that have these long-term establishments and been stars throughout the game, you have to be somewhat on the same page and try to earn their trust. The trust will not be earned until something is standing in their face. And that's when we'll find out what stamina is. And we're also, it is you're only as good as the people you put around you,
Yep.
meaning um, coaches, the analytical staff, and the people who all conjure together on a daily basis to try to make something work over the course of a season.
No question about it. And where this plays into the Padres' approach in free agency in regards to pitchers, by hiring Craig Stammen, the Padres put another pitcher on their coaching staff, and not only on their coaching staff, but in the manager's seat. But most importantly, they're keeping Ruben Niebla. We'll see what his exact title is. Maybe it's that associate head coach, associate manager kind of role. We'll see. Head coach, this isn't college. Associate manager kind of role.
Mhm.
Ben Fritz, of course, bullpen coach, signed an extension. So the pitching infrastructure is in place in San Diego. And that's important because it means that for the Padres, you have more confidence in their ability to go find guys at the lower end of the free agency band in terms of salary, in terms of experience, in terms of maybe performance last year. Just in the sense of you have more faith, they can tease more out. They can help guys become the best versions of themselves. And the other part of this is with the news that the Seidler family is exploring a sale, you understand the Padres are not going to be able to sign any of the big dollar free agents. And we knew that ahead of time. We knew that already was going to be the case. But even more so now, look, whenever any business is looking to potentially, sell a potential sale, you reduce expenses, you try and reduce the debt load. So I think realistically for the Padres, understanding these two developments, you're going to have to shop in more of the bargain bin. But you have more faith they'll be able to do so effectively. I go back to under Ruben Niebla since he's been there through multiple managers now. And I want to throw Ben Fritz in here too because he's been a part of this, right? We've seen them take talented but inconsistent starters like Joe Musgrove and Nick Pivetta and turn them into frontline guys. We've seen them take swingmen like Seth Lugo and Michael King and turn them into aces. We've seen them take established guys like Blake Snell and Dylan Cease, get back to being their best selves. We've seen them take so many different types of pitchers and help them become the best versions of themselves. You have a lot of faith. And Mike, I will say for the Padres, you look at their starting rotation right now. It's Nick Pivetta, Joe Musgrove coming off of TJ, Randy Vasquez, JP Sears, Matt Waldron, they just re-signed Kyle Hart. The Padres are going to need minimum 2 starters, and you'd like to see them get 3 just to give them some depth. So it's going to be an interesting offseason. We've talked about they need bats to improve their offense, but at least they physically have the bodies to fill out a lineup. They don't really physically have the bodies to fill out a major league rotation right now. So their attention is going to be primarily focused on this, as it should be.
Most definitely. Obviously with Joe coming off of TJ, it's going to take some time for him to get back into what he was once before when he was successful.
Yeah.
And you're talking about, obviously with a potential opportunity of selling the team, they're definitely going to be looking at some of the guys that they can maybe a reclamation project,
Yep.
maybe guys that need another opportunity, had a bad season somewhere.
Yep.
Um, and why not? I mean, like guys gonna want to go to San Diego because players
Yep.
they view these same things that we do. They're looking at, okay, here's a team that I may get a chance with if I'm, get into their system and get things going,
Yep.
and may have an opportunity for me there. So there are gonna be some guys there to have that opportunity to pitch here, and there's gonna be some names. There's gonna be some guys that gonna probably need a 1 year deal or something.
Yep.
I don't know where about the organization and the ownership right now is going to go as far as the length of having players right now. As you said, that they're trying to bring down the deficit of their payroll and everything. So,
Yep.
it's probably going to be a couple of 1 year options um, to get a chance to go back out and do it. And the potential too is to look at like, man, this is a team that still can compete and have an opportunity to get into postseason play and make some noise. And obviously, um, a lot of things change over the course of the year, but you definitely need to shore that up more than anything because we don't know how much of the 40-man roster or in the organization itself of guys that are ready to compete for a starting spot where you can get 160,
Yep.
135 to 145, 135 innings or whatever. So you got to get some guys that can take up some innings considerably since Joe is still recovering from Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, we typically see guys are better in their second year back from TJ than their first year back. So I think you should expect there to be some ups and downs. Mike, we're going to dive into the top 5 pitching targets for the Padres in free agency. And again, the payroll right now, it depends on your source a little bit, but last year the Padres payroll according to Fangraphs ended up at $211 million. Right now they're at $201 million. So even if they just wanted to match last year's payroll, they only have $10 million to play with. Again, there are a lot of moving pieces here. So the guys we're going to talk about, I want everyone to be aware. Look, you're not going to see Ranger Suarez. You're not going to see Dylan Cease. You're not going to see Tetsuya Mai. You're not going to see Framber Valdez. We're not talking about any of those guys. They're way outside the Padres' payroll potential. And Michael King also is going to fall into that as well, unless his medical's a wreck, which we'll get to at the end of the show. So all these names we're talking about, like you said, they're reclamation projects. They're guys who the Padres are going to have to look and see something under the hood and say, we can help him be better or get back to their best selves. None of these guys are going to be guys that you hear in Cy Young Award conversations or top the rotation kind of conversations just because the Padres don't have the capital to go after that. So with that, here are the Padres' top 5 targets in free agency for starting pitching. First, well, I should say number 5. I'm going to combine number 5 and number 4 here. Number 5, Tyler Mahle. Number 4, Zach Eflin. Both are 31 years old. Both are coming off of injuries. Tyler Mahle was effective when he was on the mound last year for the Texas Rangers. He only made 16 starts. He missed 3 months with a rotator cuff strain. Did come back and finished the year strong. Overall, 6-4, 2.18 ERA. Zach Eflin made 14 starts for the Orioles last year, had 2 IL stints for lower back discomfort. had season-ending surgery to remove a portion of a herniated disc in his lower back. So he did have season-ending back surgery. Again, it's a minor procedure. It's not a major one. Nonetheless, it's something you need to be wary of. Both of them at their best have shown the ability to be solid mid-rotation guys who can log innings, give you ERAs in the mid threes. Because they're coming off of injury afflicted seasons, in theory, the Padres could get them on a discount. Now, Tyler Mahle made $16.5 million last year. Zach Eflin made $18 million last year. So whether or not they would take something like a 1 year, 7 million kind of deal, it's in question. Nonetheless, what do you think about these two pitchers as, again, they're 31, still in their primes. They've shown you the ability to be
Yeah.
really solid before. They're just coming off of injury-plagued seasons.
Yeah. Both of these are kind of a really challenging situation. Obviously, they're experienced. Zach Eflin been on playoff teams. Tyler Mahle been on playoff teams. The rotator thing, hopefully Tyler. I saw him a lot, obviously, because he played in the AL West.
Yep.
And so, and then Zach Eflin, who was in the AL East. These guys definitely can help your team. It probably will come down to medicals.
Yep.
What are they seeing from these guys? Um, Man, that rotator cuff thing is scary in itself.
Yes.
But as you said, Mele came back and was showing signs of some growth per se in his game as what he was and what he'll be in the future. And then Zach with the backs and pitching, man. Both of those things
Right.
are
Scary.
kind of stick up, yeah, kind of stick up the red flag a little bit. But you have
Yes.
to be able to take a chance on guys and maybe get them at a good veteran deal that you give these guys a chance to do it. But once again, Kyle, like as I stated before, like players love to play in environments. They obviously understand the environments and they understand the team and they understand the opportunity. And then it's San Diego, man. I mean, guys would jump for that in a minute.
No, sorry. Dogs
Guys,
are barking. Come on.
dogs are barking, dogs will bark.
Yes.
And but yeah, these guys, man, they definitely have that a chance to it makes you go, when the agent presents it to them, hey, this is an opportunity that you can take advantage of right here. And,
Yep.
Look, back problems in San Diego, it's a different animal, and show anything, your body's just a lot better acclimated, and you're playing in a place where you can actually where ERA plus comes into a big factor when you play in a place like San Diego.
Again, pitcher friendly ballpark, great pitching infrastructure, good defense behind you. And again, all these guys we're going to go down have concerns, have questions, but that's just where the Padres have to fish right now. So I want everyone to keep in mind that every name we're going to read off here, some guys might go, reaction might be, I don't know about that. Those are the
Yeah,
guys the Padres have to kind of try and work
yeah,
with here with only $10 million or so to work with if they match last year's payroll. And it's very reasonable to assume they might come in under it, just given the fact that there's a potential sale happening. Again, this is kind of where they're going to have to shop. And frankly, even Mahle and Eflin might be out of their price range, just given their
yeah.
previous success and their previous salary levels. We'll see. Also, I will say Tyler Mahle, SoCal guy. Zach Eflin, of course, was drafted by the Padres, was one of the first prospects traded away by AJ probably when he took over. So there are some ties there. Number 3 is interesting. Cody Ponce. Ponce was a second-round pick of the Brewers back in 2015. Again, SoCal guy, went to Cal Poly Pomona. He made his major league debut with the Pirates, didn't go well. Then he went over to Asia. He pitched 3 seasons in Japan. Last year, he pitched in Korea for the Hanwha Eagles and won the equivalent of the Korean Cy Young Award. Went 17-1 with a 1.89 ERA, 252 strikeouts, and 180 in the third innings. What was most interesting about Ponce, and we see this happen, a lot of guys go over to Asia and come back different pitchers. He added 2 to 3 miles an hour to his fastball. He learned a splitter. He's coming back a different pitcher. Where are you on the idea of bringing back someone from Asia? Again, we've seen the Padres do it. Robert Suarez came over from Japan. Nick Martinez came back from Asia. Kyle Hart came back from Korea, the latter of which didn't work out too great. Well, we'll see. He's got another year after re-signing with the Padres. What are your overall thoughts on, taking a shot on the guy who, look, he wasn't great in his major league debut. He went over to Asia. He's coming back a different pitcher and maybe taking a shot.
Yeah, I find it, more so than the era that I played in when guys basically when they left and went to Japan or Korea. Find it more happening today than ever
Yeah,
because feel like the gap is closing uh, from Asia to the starting pitching now, and we're seeing some of the best starters come over here from Japan, and guys go over there and they learn new technology. They're learning how different shapes to take care of their bodies. They're learning that culture that they teach over there, and they're bringing it back over here. But also, they are there to um, one further their career and learn as much more. I think this a person like Cody Punce will be very hungry to
yeah,
get an opportunity to come back to the States and play in the big leagues again. Um, and what he's learned through his from the time he was drafted to now what he is as a veteran could come into very handy for himself to be able to chance to come back and no one has seen him. Obviously video is different than getting in the box 60 foot 6 inches
yeah,
6 inches, so that could be a very bonus point for him. And then once you get back in, you get back on the mound in a big league stadium,
yeah.
or get back in a big league organization, you start to get a feel for what works for you now opposed to what didn't work for you. And then you added a pitch too. So
Yeah.
that's a benefit for him if given the opportunity, if he decides to do that.
Yeah, he's coming back a different pitcher. And we've seen a number of players. Specifically, I'm going to talk about the players who went to Korea and came back, or at least pitched in Korea the previous season before coming back. There have been some successes. There have been some not great outcomes. Again, it's a mixed bag. That's true when signing any starting pitcher in free agency. You look at the successes. Merrill Kelly's the big one. Came over from Korea and frankly was one of the better and more underrated pitchers in baseball over the last few years. Helped lead the D-backs to a World Series. Eric Fetty was another top prospect, did not pan out in the States, went to Korea, came back, was good in 2024, was not so great last year in 2025. Josh Lindblom is one that didn't work out, went over to Korea, came back, signed with the Brewers, just didn't pan out. And we have Kyle Hart, who came over, joined the Padres last year from Korea. Again, his first year, he had some moments, some spot starts, came in relief a little bit. The Padres did not pick up his option, but they were able to bring him back on a lower dollar deal. So it's interesting. I will say, in terms of the winners of the Korean Sang Award, as Ponce won here in 2025, Hart was the winner in 2024, Fetty was the winner in 2023. But the other part of this that makes it appealing is when guys come back from Korea, they typically don't sign for a whole lot of money. Eric Fetty was two
Yeah.
years, 15 million. Merrill Kelly, this
Yeah.
is way back in 2018, so it's different, but 2 years, 5.5 million. Josh Lindblom was 3 years, a little over 9 million. So you're talking about you can get guys in that, call it $4 to $7 million a year range, which is what the Padres are going to have to do. So, you don't want this to be your only free agent signing, but I think
Yeah.
it's reasonable to take a shot.
No doubt. I mean, look, you have to go in. These guys, they're pros, they're professionals,
Yeah,
and the teams understand that they're trying to, you know, reestablish themselves, especially if you're coming from, another league. But the biggest thing is like every guy wants to get another opportunity to show their growth and what they're capable of doing now, opposed to what you saw previously. I mean, this is a can-do league, and guys are trying to do what they can
yeah,
to get themselves in a position to get back to where they know best. And sometimes you have to take a little hiatus to go and experience those things. And everyone don't get it. Everyone can't go to drive line and be back with a team. You know what I'm saying? Some people have to go in and let me go ahead and rework my game and maybe get a different voice. And then once again, I failed to mention this earlier when we were talking about Eflin and Melee. The Padres have a very good track record of bringing guys in and making them their best at what they do very well. And then you bring that from the organization and you put it with what the guys learn in Asia and you bring it back, man. You may have a diamond in the rough. You never know.
yeah. Again, he's certainly appealing just in the sense of he's healthy, the stuff is ticked up, and he's probably going to come cheaper than some of the other guys. Again, Eflin and Maley, their ceilings are probably higher, but they're more expensive and have more question marks coming off of injury. And that brings me to number 2 on the list, Adrian Hauser. Hauser has been around for a while. He was a starter with the Brewers, was fairly effective on the whole. Wasn't great, wasn't terrible, fairly effective. Last year was a very interesting year. So he signed a minor league deal with the Rangers, opted out after the Rangers did not put him on the big league roster, signed for 1 year and 1.35 million with the White Sox, and went on to have a really, really excellent year with the White Sox. Was traded to the Rays after the deadline. Wasn't as effective there, but overall pretty solid. So Adrian Hauser is 32 years old. He'll be 33 next year. Last year, 8-5, 3.31 ERA, 125 innings. Again, this is one of those guys where you're not going to get, frontline Cy Young stuff here, but he's healthy, he's effective, and he's shown himself to be pretty durable. You look over the course of his career, it's a lot of, between 100 and 140 inning seasons. Again, he's not going to log 180, but, we talk about these other guys who certainly have higher ceilings, but they have more questions, whether it's injuries, whether it's coming over from Asia. Hauser has fewer questions, and he's also cheaper. Again, he's coming off signing, a 1 year, $1.35 million deal. This is not a guy you're going to have to pay a huge amount for. If you can get solid mid-threes ERA for $5 million, that's exactly what the Padres kind of need right now. And given his health and just his performance last year, he's a little bit of a safer bet than some of the other guys.
Yeah. So, in Hauser's case, you have to look at this in a situation for him, Kyle, that if I get a chance to go to San Diego, I know I'm gonna be maybe 3, 4, or 5, six starter, maybe a swing guy. But given the success that he had with the White Sox, you build on those things. You get a chance to build on that, and then you get a chance to possibly, put your name in the hat of a potential playoff team. And I think guys will they want to get the most money they can get, obviously,
Yeah.
but they also want the opportunity. And innings is what the San Diego Padres need right now. At
Yes.
not at not the most valuable salary that we can get, but a manageable salary that we can get some innings out of some guys. Um, and this is one of the guys that's capable of doing that. And obviously, look, if Adrian Hauser was able to do this with the Chicago White Sox and what they got going on, from a defensive
Yes.
perspective, man, it's a blessing in itself to be able to get on a team to where everything benefits you when you enter an organization like the San Diego Padres, from the stadium to the players and uh, the magnitude of what it is meant to have a potential postseason opportunity.
And that brings us to number 1 on the list. And you hit on a very key point. What the Padres need is innings. Because again, Nick Pivetta, you trust, he's going to, carry the load for you. But Joe Musgrove coming off of TJ. And Randy Vasquez was very, very good at the end of last year. It's 2 years in a row now. He's finished the year strong. But again, he's been more in that 100 to 125 inning range, 130. You need another guy you feel good about giving you 160, 170. That leads us to number 1 on the list. Again, taking into account all the factors we talked about, needing innings, not too expensive. And that is Zach Littell, former Mariners prospect. He's been around for a long, long time now. Zach Littell is only 30 years old. He went 10-8 with a 3.81 ERA last year with the Rays and the Reds. It was a little worse with the Reds after the deadline, but was still starting a playoff game for them. And most importantly, did over 186 and a third innings after a 150 plus inning season the year before. Zach Littell's put together, back-to-back solid seasons. He was signed for $5.72 million last year. Again, he's not going to get a huge salary because he doesn't have huge stuff. He's a guy who doesn't walk batters, knows his game, pitches effectively, logs innings. You look at most of the projections out there, it's 2 years, 18 mil, maybe it's a little more, 2 years, 24, but this is not someone that's going to cost a lot of money. And look, if you're the Padres and you can get a 180 inning guy with a solid ERA in the threes at 5 to 7 mil a year, you need to take that because they need that badly.
Man, I'm taking that. That's my pick because I watched him pitch, and like you said, he's not a big strikeout guy. He doesn't walk many guys. He played in Cincinnati at the end of the year, but he made a playoff start there.
Yep.
And this is the kind of experience that you need when you still have the potential to be a playoff caliber baseball team. And Zach can fit into that probably 2 or 3 spot right now until Joe Musgrove gets back to his place, maybe 3 or 4. This will be a perfect guy for the San Diego Padres to possibly invest in and give them the innings that they need. He's been solid, man. He's been a solid. Any of those guys that come out of Tampa, man, it's like they understand the factory down there,
Yeah.
and then you go off and you do your different things. But the opportunity to play in this position, and once again, I said it before, players know when they scout organizations as well, and they talk to other players, and they know that, hey, when an agent reach out and like, hey, man, Padres may be interested here. We may have an opportunity here. The first thing guys do is start getting on the phone and start texting other guys that's been there and understand that, and they understand the guys that have who've been hurt or been in situations where they struggled or whatever it is. They go to San Diego and it's like, man, they turn around. King,
Yeah.
they turn around different guys. They do different things, and look, they turn around Cy Young winner. So they understand those opportunities, and they're willing to take on that situation to get a chance to do it. And once again, what better place to do it than in San Diego?
And again, all these guys we're talking about, right? It's very safe. Well, I don't like the peripherals. Well, the health scares me. Like, this is the bucket they're going to have to shop in. So I think it's
Yeah,
important to look at
yeah,
what these guys do well and not pick them apart, because you're going to find flaws with every pitcher, but especially when you talk about the bucket the Padres are going to have to shop in. It's going to come with the territory. Mike, there are a few other guys who interested me. Again, these are the five that really jumped out as okay, kind of have at least some combination of potential with innings, with stuff that the Padres could certainly use at a price point that is somewhat tenable for them. But there are a couple other guys I do want to highlight here, and one of the big ones is Dustin May. Dustin May is only 28 years old. We know how wicked his stuff has been. He's had a lot of problems with injuries. He did not have a good year last year. Went 7-11 with a 4.96 ERA between the Dodgers and the Red Sox. Thing is, he only made a little over $2 million last year. If you're talking about, hey, let's take a flyer on a guy who's 28 with wicked stuff, bring him into a Padres organization that does great work helping pitchers be the best versions of themselves, and you probably are going to get him. I don't know. I have a hard time seeing him get more than $5 million based on the year he had
yeah,
last
yeah,
year.
yeah.
Every day. That's someone, again, I think that talk about buying low on, he fits perfectly.
Heck yes. I'm pretty sure Zach May would love to get back. I don't know where he's from, but he would love
He's
probably
from
to get back to the
Texas.
West
Yeah.
Coast,
Dustin May's he's a
get a chance.
Texan.
Yeah. Look, this guy's got stuff, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
It hasn't translated as much as we like to see, as we talked about him being a prospect for many years.
Yeah.
But at 28 years old, and he's already have an opportunity to test the market and to be one of those mid-level, players, as you stated, $5 million. This is the one guy that you gotta have put some heat on, and I'm sure he's gonna have a lot more interest in that because he's had some injuries, but he has the stuff
Yeah.
to do what he's capable of doing. And I mean, he came from that Dodger pitching factory,
Yeah.
but also, San Diego's known for, once again, as you stated, the reclamation of getting the best version of these guys of themselves, and being a 28-year-old guy. I mean, he could turn this into, if he was to sign with San Diego, he could turn this into something much bigger.
Yeah.
And what a better opportunity, to put a chip on your shoulder and to be able to chase the old back-to-back champs and to kind of show them what it's all about, given the opportunity. I mean, I like Big Red, long stretch red. So
Yeah.
he has an edge about him that I like,
Yes.
and it's an opportunity, for him, to get himself back into the the spotlight of what he really was as a prospect. And look, man, sometimes it take a few years for guys
Yeah.
to figure themselves out, giving the injury situation and obviously the mental blocks. I heard them talking when he was in Boston about uh, changing up his pitch repertoire. But obviously, I saw this kid since he's been in Double A,
Yeah.
way back in like 2020 or whatever,
Yep.
19 or 20.
I've seen him since he was in
This
high
guy,
Rancho Cucamonga. Yeah.
this guy has the stuff to do what he wants to do as a pitcher. And another guy who, if he can stay healthy, he can give you one the 150 to 170 range at a very reasonable price, and obviously can help you contend in a division obviously that's top heavy, with what the Dodgers, obviously the back-to-back champs, and then we know that the San Francisco Giants are probably going to go all in now since they starting to take a shift on everything else that's going on.
Yeah, again, someone that, again, buy low, 28, great stuff. Certainly someone the Padres should have interest in, and we'll see what the medicals turn up there. Another guy I just want to highlight outside of the top five, but someone to consider is Jose Urquidy. Again, this was a guy who was part of a World Series staff in Houston, had Tommy John surgery, wasn't quite right in 2023, missed all of 2024, came back very end of 2025, barely pitched the Tigers, and wasn't particularly effective when he did. But again, he's going to be now in that second year post TJ, which is when we see guys kind of turn it around. He only made 4 million last year. Again, just another guy. He's 31. He's from Mexico, so there are those ties there. Like, again, you talk about someone who could be a solid 3-4, potentially on the cheap, kind of reclamation project type. Again, depending on the price point, it's someone to consider. Mike, there are a lot of guys. I will say from the Padres perspective, what is in their favor this year is there are a ton of starting pitchers hitting free agency. So even though you have that top tier, I mean, the depth of the market is pretty significant. And I think that that's something that will benefit them. We talked about the top five. We talked about a few other guys. But look, you can have almost any type of pitcher you want, right? Former ace looking
Yeah,
for a bounce back. You got Walker Buehler, Herman
yeah,
Marquez, Lucas
yeah.
Giolito, Woodruff, Stroman. You want the guys coming off of injuries. It's all the guys we talked about. Former Padres, guys like Chris Paddock, Cal Quantrill, who were not good last year, but, they want to sign depth starter type of contracts. Maybe you fix them. Other guys coming from Asia, Foster Griffin, Anthony Kay. And then you've got your vets. Look, yes, you have Scherzer and Verlander, but beyond them, right? The Merrill Kellys, Miles Michaelises, Jose Quintanas. I mean, there's so many options, so many ways the Padres can go, and a lot of it is just going to come down to what's the price point. Maybe it's the guys who have to wait a little longer to sign. It gets close to spring training, and they have to take a deal that's a little less than what they hoped. We'll see, but I think what helps the Padres, and I'm going to wrap up with this, is you feel good about their ability to get the most from any of these guys, any of these archetypes. Just given Ruben Niebla is back, Ben Fritz is back, the infrastructure is there.
Definitely. You start reeling off some of these names, man. Look, there's gonna be interest from other teams, but these are some guys that can really help you out. These guys that have some experience. Some of them have playoff experience. Some have a world championship experience. They're different things. One of the biggest things I think that the Padres don't have, other than JP Sears, is a left-handed
Yeah,
lefties. And that could play very well much into how they're the shaping and the designing this roster. So
yeah,
it's going to be important to see and what you know AJ Priller and the organization decides how they want to go in building and shaping this roster from an injury perspective and also just from a depth perspective, and who is willing to take some of these lower end of the salaries and also mid-level salaries given the situation of the organization and what they need to do from a financial standpoint.
yeah. As we discussed, the Padres will not be able to shop at the top of the market, right? Again, Dylan Cease, Ranger Suarez, Framber Valdez, Tetsuya Mai. Even the guys that are kind of the second step below them, the Zach Gallons of the world, they're going to be priced out of that. I do think it's important to talk about Michael King. It was interesting, right? A few episodes
Mhm.
ago, I talked about, look, Michael King's going to get paid. Him coming back is very, very unlikely. And I saw some people saying things like, no, he hasn't proven he's a starter. He's going to get a 1-year pillow contract. Guys, Alex Cobb made 3 starts and got 1 year, $15 million in his age 37 season and wasn't able to pitch. Walker Bueller was terrible with the Dodgers. Pitched okay, well, pitched well in the postseason, but was bad throughout the regular season. He got $21.5 million from the Red Sox. Michael King, when you look at his production, it lines up with the guys who are getting 6, 7 year deals between 180 and $220 million contracts. Now, he's
Yeah.
not going to get that because he's older. He's coming off the injury. But 5/140 is what we're looking at. And if the medical is questionable, we're still looking 375. Like the floor here is Luis Severino's, 3 years, 71 million. Like this idea he's going to get a pillow contract or teams are going to look at him as, oh, he hasn't proven himself as a starter. With that stuff, what he showed when he was healthy, his age, and a lot of them are going to view it as a fresh arm, he's going to get paid. So look, if the Padres are willing to go 3 years, 75 mil, you bring him back, but just given their payroll situation, it's doubtful they'll be able to. But let's level set here, right? Again, I think this idea that he's somehow going to be one of these guys that has to take one of these 1 year, 5, 10, even $15 million deals, that's just not what's going to happen. And I'm not just saying that, like talking to people in the industry, again, the floor deal for him is probably Nate Eovaldi's 3 years, 75 million last year. And that's even if his medical's not great.
Yeah, look, Michael King proved, even with injury and coming back, I mean, he's proved that he's worthy of what someone is willing to pay him at this particular point.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I don't know how the owner situation um, and the organization in itself are going to be able to go a little bit above, considering they put this situation um, from an owner standpoint in a sell mode, or just kind of get feelers just to sell. But Michael King, man, he's earned his keep, and it's going to be really hard to bring back a guy of this caliber, considering where we are right now, talking about the financial situation.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they would love to have him back. I'm
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
sure they would love to add, 45, 50 more million dollars onto the payroll or whatever it is, but they're going the other way. So they're probably going to be looking from that. And look,
Yeah.
Mike King not is going to get. Michael King is not going to get a 1 year pillar deal, considering that
No.
pitching is a premium and power is a premium. And he has one of those premiums that teams are looking for and willing to take that opportunity to get it done, because this guy has shown over the course of the season. He ended up being the number one guy for the San Diego Padres. So,
Yes.
and we're talking about a 90 win playoff caliber team. So, yeah, he's going to definitely get an opportunity to get paid.
Again, the stuff, the ceiling, and again, he did show he could log innings. And last year's injury was more of a freak thing, a nerve thing. It wasn't like your typical elbow or shoulder, huge concern. And then,
Yeah.
he tweaked his knee because he came back too fast. But the stuff returned in the postseason. Again, he's going to get paid. I will say,
Yeah.
Mike, the other thing that we need to just hit on real quick here, we've talked about all the guys in free agency. Of course, the trade market exists as well. The Padres' ability to make trades will be limited just given the state of their farm system. Again, they have guys. No farm system is ever empty. You look at Cash Mayfield. You look, Ethan Salas with his back and the fact he hasn't played. That value, again, the value's at an all-time low. Um, Miguel Mendez. So while there are a lot of really good starting pitchers on the trade market, right? We talk about Pablo Lopez. We talk about Joe Ryan. You talk about Mackenzie Gore. You talk about even Sandy Alcantara potentially. The Padres don't really have the pieces in the farm system to get those guys. I will say you can always pull one over an opposing GM, but if any GM trades any of those pitchers for the guys the Padres have, the GM should be fired immediately for incompetence. Like it's not even close to enough of what it should be. So again, there are going to be trade options here too, but given the state of the Padres farm system and also the ability to absorb payroll, it's going to be tricky. And again, that's why, AJ Preller's been creative. He's been, the kind of GM who just when you think the Padres can't add a whole lot, he finds creative ways to make something happen with the money and the prospects. So I don't want to sit here and say that anything's impossible. But realistically, again, we are looking at the free agents, mid to low end of the market and trying to get the best from them. That's really where the Padres are going to have to be this year, just given their payroll constraints and given where they are. And given the fact they need multiple arms too. Again, they're not one arm away. They need to find at least two, probably three.
Yeah. So as we talking about this, Kyle, like this is the roster's not bad. You got a hell of a back end of the bullpen.
Yes.
All you need is a couple of guys that can get you to what you're capable of doing. Like,
Yeah.
we're not talking about rebuilding this team or whatever it is. This team is still in win mode. So you just need to be able to try to manufacture salaries that satisfy, ownership and the organization to put yourself in a position to get through a season. Looking at this roster, man, like it isn't is not bad as we're talking as if they are kind of redirecting or rebuilding, and partly because of that is because of what's transforming from ownership standpoint. There are players here, man. There
Of
are
course.
definitely players here that can get it done, and that's the most important thing. So you just have to be able to be smart in your decisions and try to make the best decisions you can, and hopefully the health these players take care of themselves, and also maybe get a backup plan here or there to assure up these particular situations that you got going on from a starting pitching standpoint.
Yeah.
And look, man, like getting Mason Miller, that took a lot. That sucked a lot out of the organization from a prospects standpoint. But they still look really, really decent enough to where, like, hey, man, you can't sleep on the San Diego Padres because we still have a very good roster from a positional standpoint, at least the starters.
Yeah.
And obviously there's some questions in that particular matter, but at the same time, you know, um, getting a couple of these veteran late starters for a 1 year pillow deal, if you want to call it that,
Yeah.
could definitely help out this team and still feel good about what they're going into. And then you just ride with it and see where it leads you over the course of the season.
Again, this is a team coming off back-to-back 90-win seasons. This is not a demolition project. This is not a rebuilding team. This is a team that has talent and has holes, and now it's about filling the holes in the most cost-efficient way possible. And we'll see how they do that. Again, a lot of these pitchers we talked about, it's going to come down to what the medical looks like, what the dollar amount is, but there's potential there. And we'll see if the Padres end up signing one of these guys or if they get creative and go in another direction. Mike, thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate your expertise and insight as always.
Always good to be on Foul Territory, the Foul Territory Network, the Friar community,
Yep,
San Diego in general, baby.
always. Once again, this has been another edition of Friar Territory. Go ahead and give us a review, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, whatever platform you're watching and listening on. We'd love to hear from you. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Helps us out big time. We've been on a big upward ascent. We want to keep it going. For Mike Cameron, I'm Kyle Glaser. Thank you for watching and listening. See you later this week.